There is an ancient proverb.
When the pupil is ready, the master will appear. It will take dedication, it will take time.
Hello, I'm Bill Nelson, and I'm here to talk to you about the Quantum Zeroid Consciousness Interface, the QXCI system. Some of my basic dreams and design factors about how it came to be, how I was able to build this over the last 25 years. First, coming out of high school, I was an electrical engineer, worked on the Apollo project at General Motors Institute. And I was able to gain a deep perspective into the factors of science and the ideas of three-dimensional space and electronic physics and the factors of how electricity operates in 3 dimensions and magnetic and static and conduction, lots of these other things. Later on, I discovered I had some personal skills and I wanted to get into study of psychology. I got into the study of psychology, then eventually into medicine, and found out that there was a chemical perspective of teaching of medicine, a perspective that I didn't really believe in. I believed that it was real, but it was superficial to the energetic. When I stumbled on the German system, I found that they were using a series of point probes to measure resistance flow in acupuncture meridians, and there was the form of the German energetic medical system, known as GEM. But this system was very weak because it was only studying resistance. Plus it was studying these things at very slow speeds where people were measuring this. With the computer, we would be able to measure at biological speeds because the human being does not react to things as slowly as 1 second. When the baseball is coming in at the batter does not have 1 second to make a decision. He has less than 1/20th of a second, 100th of a second to make decisions, whether he's going to duck, whether he's going to hit, how he's going to proceed. The body reacts to the external environment at around 100th of a second speed in the ideal conditions. So we wanted to make a system that was able to measure this. The factors of the point probe, we found that there were some weaknesses, some other weaknesses. The therapist could control the results. The therapist who was applying the point probe, the therapist who was testing the muscle, the therapist who was doing the muscle testing or the pendulum or the rub plate, that their unconscious or perhaps even their conscious system was able to, through subtle muscle control, affect the readings. Now please don't shoot the messenger just because I'm giving you a message. If you want to know more about this message, don't shoot the messenger. But we have a special CD dedicated just to subtle muscle control, that you can learn a little bit more about that. But I wanted to get a system where the conscious of the therapist and the conscious of the patient was not involved in the reactivity choices. In other words, a true double blind where when vitamin C is being tested, neither the therapist nor the patient know it. A series of items that could be tested at very rapid speeds, 100th of a second, faster or slower, depending on the calibration to the patient. And being able to do this, we would then have a double-blind situation where the therapist was not able to consciously or unconsciously modify or control the results. The patient's conscious was not able to do that, and we would get a reading of the patient's unconscious reactions. This very rapid process, doing multiple items, I coined the word zeroid for. X-R-R-O-I-D, zeroid, meaning the rapid testing of many items at biological reactivity speeds. So having done that and having built that, there was a time in America where I built a diagnostic device, registered it with the FDA back in 1989. A device that was capable of measuring the body's electrical responses to lots of different stimuli. Then I made a treatment device that was going to be able to do treatment, a device that was going to make the next step, and that was back in 1990. A device that would be able to do therapy, much like the Rife devices, the bioresonance devices, the Mora devices, all these devices that were doing therapy around the world, quote, resonant medicine therapy. But the devices that existed from the other companies were a one-way device. They did not have a feedback loop. In other words, they did not autofocus therapies. Therapies were once turned on, continued in the same pattern until the time span ran out. And it was just a one-way treatment. There was no way for the body to say, I've had enough, or I need more, or subtly change what the direction or the pulsation of the therapy might be. Well, with our diagnostic system, I could make a therapy system. And in 1991, I asked the FDA if we could put those together, and they said, of course not, absolutely no. When I came to Budapest, the Hungarian FDA said, oh, great, what a wonderful idea. Perhaps you might find a cure for Alzheimer's. Our system has now over 125 documented cases where patients with Alzheimer's have been cured. We have vast numbers of responses, many different ideas. Depressions, epilepsy, a host of other different factors, brain injuries, etc., where we've been able to spontaneously develop cures through electrical interaction. And the Hungarian people were so excited as that this would minimize the need for their people to buy drugs which were very costly, very, very costly for them to be able to buy in an environment where the average Hungarian only made $300 a month. So this was very exciting to them and very exciting to us because we found a place to be able to manufacture. The legality of then importing the device for personal use into America was completely fine. There'll be an extra part in this CD about the legality. So finding a good way, finding a legal way to help people in America and around the world to import our device, I then set off to be able to perfect the device and add more and more material to it. With an open mind, I started adding voice analysis. I started adding nutrition, homeopathy, acupuncture, Keller therapy, brainwave therapy, electrocardiogram, past life analysis, emotional response, covert thinking processes, stimulation of a host of different things, being able to develop the ZAP process the ZAP process that is developed by some of the naturopaths in America, where they use an electrical stimulation to kill a pathogen in the body. Only with our autofocus system it would work even better. Our autofocus system would be able to control the amount of pulsation, turn it off when it's done, give more if it's needed, but also be able to change the pulsation or autofocus the system if it needs to be during the treatment, because we have a feedback loop, cybernetic loop. We're able to measure 55 different factors every thousandth of a second as they change in the human body. We're then able to apply different evoked potential responses to the patient. So thereby we have a feedback loop where we're able to generate a stimulus, measure its response, and change the stimulus. So an incredible system of energetic medicine, which then expounded. A system based on the keyword of holism. Being able to work holistically, not just energetically, because we wanted to work with behavioral medicine. We wanted to work with nutrition. We wanted to work with homeopathy, acupuncture, a host of other interventions. We wanted to generate a system where the patients at home could sit down with a computer and generate pages, 65, 70, 75 pages of questions about every intimate detail of their health care, as to even what drugs their mother might have taken while they carried them, perhaps 80 years ago. So a whole host of different factors to try to bring the maximum amount of analysis in medicine to one type of system. A system based on holistic analysis. A system not based on just selling a homeopathic or selling a nutritional. As what I saw that was existing out there was companies that were going to sell machines that were also selling products, and machines designed with one thing in mind, to sell a product. And I started to see that that really is not holistic therapy, and that many of our patients need more emotional work. Our patients need exercise, they need yoga, they need stretching, they need meditation, they need stress reduction, they need good positive attitudes, they need affirmations, they need a host of different things, not just homeopathy. I'm in favor of homeopathy. I believe homeopathy should be involved and is involved with every patient I see, but it is not all of what I do when I see a patient. So with this expansive mind, being able to expound and expand, I was able to then help develop this large system now, which is 1 gigabyte, and I apologize for its dramatic size, but I tried to leave no stone unturned to make a system where you would quickly and easily be able to do holistic medicine. Within 3 minutes doing the zeroid, you can look at the body's reaction to over 10,000 items. Calculate that and look at its reactivity pattern. We'd be able to take that reactivity pattern and go through a host of different types of therapies. So within the space of a 30 to 45-minute interview, we'd be able to bring a dramatic quality of holism in the analysis of the patient together, generate a report, and allow them to get responsibility into their lives for changing their disease. This is some of the things that I've tried to do. With this expansiveness, I understand that a lot of people have some mediocre minds and want to only look at little tiny parts, and they can't see the whole, and they just look at little parts. And perhaps, as I've always said, the QXCI is not for mediocre minds. If you have an expansive mind, if you're capable of understanding the word holism, if you can understand that you can't step into the same stream twice, if you can understand the idea of an expansive fractal system, if you can understand that the weather never is the same exactly, if you can understand these things, if you can understand the beauty of working with patients and the humility of working with the best guests, if you can understand these things, and if you're willing to work with the computer interfaces to the patient's unconscious. And now we have a direct window to the patient's unconscious reactivity patterns. The patient's unconscious will guide you now through a healing process, as we can let it make the choices of almost all therapies. We can let the patient's unconscious guide its own self towards healing, wakening the conscious mind of the therapist and the conscious mind of the patient themselves to be enlightened as to what needs to be done. Because I believe that an awful lot of our health care, in fact most of our patients, have a problem with their conscious and unconscious being linked. If their conscious and unconscious were linked, they would be able to pick out their own vitamins, their own homeopathics, their own help. But I believe that what our job is to build awareness and to build the development of the conscious and unconscious together. To this end, I've developed the most highly sophisticated energetic medicine machine in the world. A device that I hope that you can appreciate as we start to teach you more and more about it through this series of videos. Energetic medicine. The Germans had come on the idea of measuring the electrical parameters of acupuncture meridians. This was also done by other people in Korea and Hawaii and other places in Japan around the world. But they had kind of perfected some of the art. But by just dealing with resistance and not really dealing with voltage and amperage readings, they were missing so much. They were missing the brainwave. I was able, with my electrical engineering background, to really fulfill and make this technology better. With the computer background, to be able to make it computerized and bring it to a system of expansion in the technology of energetic medicine. And a dramatic expansion into the world of holistic medicine by not just doing energetic, but also by putting in the factors of different behavioral medicine techniques, psychological techniques, etc. And by bringing all of that to bear, opening the doors to a dramatic step forward, being able to do blood analysis, live blood analysis, microscope work, etc. And stepping into that open-mindedly to fulfill the dream of energetic and holistic medicine. This has been my goal. This has been what I've tried to do every day for the last 25 years. And I try to bring you the best quality and try to expand, looking at the largest medical system in the world that is affordable, usable, legal, rewardable to you. I hope that you can see the scope and not be afraid of the scope Because I know that for many people, they're afraid of the holism. They're afraid of the large scope of this, thinking that they'll never learn it. It was not designed to be learned in a day. It was not designed to be learned in a year. It was designed to offer you new avenues of exploration for as long as you might own it. Being able to find out new things and help patients in a wide variety of ways. And as you do and you run into difficulties, you communicate with us because we are into listening and into changing to adapt for you. Many of the buttons in the system now have people who have helped me with those buttons. People have given me the ideas. We have the Garnet button, we have the Bill Cunningham button, we have the Lynn Crawford button. We have all these buttons that people have told me, this is what the system needs. And I've worked to try to do that. And if you don't like those buttons, don't go. If you don't like to do some of these different therapies, don't. It wasn't designed for every use. It wasn't designed for everybody. It was designed for an open-minded approach to the whole of holistic, natural, energetic medicine. It doesn't design or recommend antibiotics or synthetic drugs. It's not used for that. We find that the patient's body does not ever resonate totally to those. They might be reactive, but they don't really resonate. We've tried to make a system to bring natural medicine to its fullest. A system where the whole field of natural medicine could get around and rally. Aromatherapy, reflexology, chiropractic, acupuncture, iridology, on and on. But try to make a system that would address all of those and open the door, not just to use, but open the door to understanding and expansion. That's been my dream. I hope you could share that dream, gradually, step by step, or perhaps even right now in a flush, in an instant. This is what I've tried to bring to you. This is the field of the QXCI.